the only major U.S. 2-year-old sale held over a dirt surface, Mid-Atlantic May continues to produce graded stakes winners across the globe and on all surfaces. Recent grads include Eclipse champion Straight No Chaser, brilliant winner of the Breeders' Cup Sprint, as well as this year's Riyadh Dirt Sprint at the Saudi Cup, plus Grade 1 winners Full Count Felicia and Sacred Wish. The Fasig-Tipton Mid-Atlantic May 2-year-olds in training sale, May 19th and 20th in Timonium, Maryland. Where will you be?
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Horse Races Now podcast. Now listen, if you paid attention, you made some money on the Oaks and Derby. I'm just saying, Kenny, if they paid attention, they got some more money in their pocket.
I don't listen to myself.
You nailed it. I mean, how about me? I feel like the dumbest guy on the planet. I was over here making notes, took my sheet of paper with me when I was going to pull up my Twin Spires account. I did my own thing. My problem was I watched the telecast.
Oh.
And when I do that, they make it sound like every horse can win, right? Because they feature every horse throughout the day. Heck, I even thought that Flying Mohawk horse could win at one point. But if you would have paid attention to what you said, you nailed it from top to bottom.
I have an advantage because I get to see them.
I realize you have an advantage.
I watch a lot of them. I watch them gallop. I watch them work. I've run against them.
You were all over Sovereignty.
Yeah. What a beautiful horse, though. I mean, he was a beast all week. Like I said, I think it was one of the easiest bets ever. I mean, he was. It wouldn't surprise me if he won by 30.
Do you think handicappers felt that way too, or are you just saying you knew it because of what you saw?
Yeah, just watching him gallop, watching him train, just his presence. Billy's consummate horseman. I really felt like Sheikh Mohammed was due on a win, and
you said that on the podcast.
Yeah, and it's it all came together, and they've had an incredible run over the last year or so or plus, and it just icing on the cake for them, and they deserve it. They really do.
So I'm looking at our YouTube from that one. We had a little over 20,000 views just on that particular episode, and people are thanking you left and right here for the winner. And if you paid attention, you made some money. One of the persons said, "I've never seen a trainer give past performance recommendations in a race he has a horse running in." They seem to say that was very refreshing. That's kind of who you are.
Well, it's my job to handicap every race I run in, so
right.
It's kind of normal. And admittedly, we went into the Derby with we were a father-son Holy Ghost horse. We knew that. The ownership knew that.
Did the Toby Keith thing have something to play with him running?
Oh, it had everything.
Okay.
Yeah, everything. I recommended that we run an allowance race that we almost won earlier on the card with Hypnus, so we had another horse for that race anyway. But, look, the horse had the points. He deserved to get in. I've talked about he had a quarter crack. Horses deal with quarter cracks all the time. For that matter, let me expound a little bit on that.
Please.
Just because a horse has a quarter crack doesn't mean that they're lame.
Right.
It means that there's an issue with the hoof. The hoof has an opening, and you address those before they become lame.
Yeah.
And I think we did a really good job with that. My horse in particular has had these for months, and we have continually done shoeing. Somebody tagged me on social media about how I should scratch my horse because I admitted he had a quarter crack. Well, even if you look at the winner had some shoeing work done too. Mm-hmm. And if you look at his feet, he had some foot issues as well. Or maybe they're not foot issues, but they addressed them before they became issues.
Yeah.
So there's a difference between a quarter crack and lameness, and it's extremely different. And somebody said, "Oh, you should scratch your horse." I said, "Hold back, cowboy.
Yeah.
You don't know this horse.
Right.
I don't know Ripoli's horse. I don't know the details, but keep me out of it." Mm-hmm. And then he kept going on, and you know what? I don't do it often, but I executed the block button. Sorry, guy. I'm not going to hear it.
Yep.
Not going to get in some public battle with you.
Amen.
But just to put that to rest, for people out there that don't know, horses do. A trainer's job is to address all these issues, and do it. What's all right for the horse owner, everything like that. And it's sometimes it's a balance.
Yeah.
And it's never black and white. And somebody out there on a keyboard is not going to be able to understand the idiosyncrasies, the details. And sorry you got blocked, brother. But that's the way I am. I actually have said on my Twitter, I don't have time for fools or trolls.
Amen.
So there you go.
You know, Kenny, honestly, you being so open on this podcast probably brings a little of that on you, honestly, because they were using what you had said against you a little bit. Saying, well, Kenny even says his horse doesn't have a chance. Why are you going to put him in? You're taking chances for these other horses that can't get in. But that's not the point.
Yeah, well, I think the horse would run a lot better in a dry track.
Yeah.
Actually, Owen Almighty finished behind us in the Bluegrass, and he ran a really good race.
Yeah, and that horse.
I think Brian Lynch should be proud of the way he ran.
Yeah.
And I think he was a little reluctant himself. But, look, I worked for them. The horse was doing fine. I did not think he had the talent to do that particular step in his career, but there's, you can always regress, and there's been plenty of horses that ran poorly in the Derby that came back and ran fine later on in their career. So we'll get more conservative from here on out, and it's one of those things. The Keith or Toby's family was extremely excited about all this, and they were, let's say, strongly encouraged me. So that's fine. I'm on their team, and I'm going to continue to work hard for them.
And there was some really nice pieces the day of the Derby on the air, ABC. It was really nicely done. And it was a nice thing to be able to honor Toby and do it that way. So
they came into the stable and had such great energy, and they were so happy, and they were having such fun, and they realized that he was an outside chance, and they didn't go in it with any preconceived notion that he was going to win or anything. They knew that it was a real steep climb, but they enjoyed it, and they said it was a priceless moment to all of them.
Great.
And
that's what it's about.
They were wearing shirts called WWTD. What would Toby do? Mm-hmm. And that was their motto. What would Toby do? Toby would have run him.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Because he always wanted to be in the Derby.
Oh, yeah. Well, we're going to work on getting a better horse than this horse to come back another day. And that's part of the process is sometimes you run in these races, and maybe it's a bad way to explain it, to teach an owner what kind of horse you have to be successful in these kind of races. So then it gives you a little more focus, and you learn from the experience and say, okay, we've got to get a certain level of horse to be competitive. And that's the challenge of it. That's what makes horse racing fun.
One of our listeners says they think 20 horses might be too many in the Derby. They believe they only allow 14 in the Oaks. What's Kenny think about that?
That's the challenge of it all. Is the 20 horses, you've got to have a bit of luck along with the best horse. But I don't see them changing that.
No,
I think that's in stone.
Talk to me about the Derby. Obviously, or I'm sorry, not Derby. The Oaks. Obviously, not the race you wanted there either. But how did Take Charge, My Lady run there for you?
Well, this is another one we were kind of nursing a quarter crack with, and we really couldn't. We worked her really well 2 weeks out. We had to do a long, slow, and you could even say she missed a breeze the week before. And we felt comfortable and actually she came in and out of the race with the foot fine.
Right.
But she didn't hardly pick up her feet out there that day. And she really struggled around there, and she came out of it fine. In the meantime, we've removed the foot work that we did. We cleaned it out, and actually wasn't as bad as we were worried underneath it. And we'll regroup with her and get, once again, a little less ambitious. Her grade 1 second place at Keeneland was sufficient enough to say she justified being in there. And I can't remember where LaCara ran, but LaCara won the Ashland, and I don't believe she hit the board herself.
Okay.
So maybe that's a reflection of the particular, maybe the Ashland wasn't that tough this year. The winner was a no-brainer again.
Well, and you
She's
called
impressive.
It. I'm not going to keep beating that into the ground, Kenny, but that's you nailed it 100%. So if you're paying attention, you should have had both races. Someone asked here, so Rodriguez's bruised foot, render judgment, quarter crack, Take Charge, My Lady, quarter crack. Is something wrong with the Churchill Downs surface this year?
Well, in some cases, it's just trainers being open about what they're dealing with. I hope I'll lead the pack in being open about horse details. I mean, you look at it, don't think every horse goes into the race perfect.
Right.
I mean, it's like a ball team. Plenty of players go into the game with, horses or offensive lineman's got a knee that's bothering him.
Yep.
Quarterback's elbow or a jam finger. I mean, we deal with things just like the ball players do, and you try to explain it to people, but some of them understand it and some of them don't.
Yep.
And but ultimately, the backstop here is the state vet.
Yeah.
If my horse wasn't sufficient for state vets, and they're hard.
Yeah.
They're very difficult.
Yeah.
I mean, it's frustrating for Mike Rapoli because he's had 3 Derby horses scratched. Uncle Mo, is it Forte, and then this year he had Grande. I mean, he's frustrated. But the vets really do scrutinize, and they go over your horse like fine tooth comb.
So he came across really, really poorly, in my opinion. They interviewed him, and he said, "Well, we're going to run we would have won the Derby if they would have let me race, just like we won this race, that race, this race. I'm going to run it. I'm going to win every race I'm in." It didn't come across really all that well.
Mike's Mike. Mike speaks his mind, and he's a very emotional guy, and I don't begrudge him for that. Everybody's got a different approach. I mean, if you know him, nobody loves the sport more than Mike Rapoli.
That's true.
And he's he sticks his neck out there. He's not scared to say his opinions. I mean, whether you're from Queens or Eastern Kentucky, everybody's got their way they go through life. And Mike's Mike. I respect him for that, and I have no problem. I actually like people that lay it out.
Yep.
That's fine. He doesn't bother me a bit.
Well, let's talk about the big mare. Big disappointment there on Oaks Day. Thorpedo,
Yeah,
man. Was that an injury, or I know she got bumped coming out?
Well, so when they went into the turn, she was in the middle of 2 horses, and the 5 horse just came right over on top of her. The 5 horse ran into her, ran her into the 1. The 1 bounced off the fence and then back into her again. I mean, it was a pretty extreme bumper cars. The only thing I can figure is they knocked the breath out of her. Mm-hmm. Johnny Velasquez was quite upset after the race. He claimed foul against Rosario on the 5.
Okay.
Curious on why Brian didn't claim foul, but look, I've talked to him about it. I think he should.
He didn't think so.
Brian's a gentleman rider. I mean, he's probably not one to take on that, but Johnny did. Johnny was quite upset. I even spoke to him yesterday before about it, and he said it was ridiculous. I mean, I think that the instructions were to get in front of her, cut her off under all means.
Wow.
And look, my filly didn't run well. Now, some could say that maybe I ran her back too quick. 3 weeks. I mean, you come back in 2 weeks for the
Preakness.
Yeah, I mean, look, I've scrutinized it. I don't know. She seems to be fine. We've gone through her, can't really find anything major. She's gone back to the track. She acts like her old self. But it was one of those races. It wasn't our day. And, we're big boys. We just have to, get back up off the mat and get back up again and do it again.
What's next?
Probably the Fleur de Lis, which is, it's a grade 2 $500,000 on June 28th, which gives her 8 weeks in between races. And, get her back on form, hopefully, and then we'll take it from there. But yeah, it was a rough day.
Yeah,
somewhat of a rough weekend. But it's I've seen that. I've gone into weekends extremely confident, thinking I'm going to win 3 or 4, and come out with feathers.
Yeah,
no chicken.
Yeah,
so it's a part of the game.
So speaking of that 2-week changeover there, what do you make of Sovereignty not running in the Preakness?
I think it's a good move.
Why?
Bill's always been a pretty conservative trainer. His stats coming back in 2 weeks aren't great. I was reading that today. But Godolphin's an outfit that's not going to press him to run. And actually, if I could do it over again, I wouldn't have run Mystik Dan in the Preakness. If I could have a do-over on that, and I think that was probably a little taxing, and then he didn't run well at all in the Belmont, you're going to see Sovereignty win easy in the Belmont.
You think?
Yeah, well, it's 1.25 miles at Saratoga. Mm-hmm. It's the Colts trained there a good portion of his career. He trained there as a 2-year-old, and he's probably already there. And it's Bill's got a base of operations there. They're going to be extremely difficult to beat, and I think you'll see him jump right through that hoop, and then you're going to probably see him proceed forward onto the Travers for the fall. Or for the late summer.
Listen, I get all this, but the Triple Crown's a Triple Crown. Why not try to win it? You got a horse that can do it.
Well, Not to spoil this podcast too much, but I'm supposed to do a little thing with Tony Kornheiser from PTI.
Well, that's
and
good.
we're going to talk about that tomorrow.
Not so much how little that is.
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't know. For those that keep track of Tony's podcast, we're going to talk about that. And you know what? For me, I'm a proponent of spreading the races, but you've got to get these bigger entities to agree to do it. With the shakeup of Pimlico right now, where the ownership's transferring to the state, then the possibility of that may go up in the movement of it all. There's a political aspect to all that. The city of Baltimore will feel strongly about all that. Maybe Belmont probably could be where you could slot them. I mean, this is me talking, and certainly I don't have any strings to pull to get this done. But first Saturday in May, first Saturday in June, first Saturday in July would be great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a really good spacing.
Makes sense.
It's kinder in this day and age. I think trainers do want more time. Whether they can adapt that and change it. I mean, change happens in all sports.
It does.
All the time.
Sure.
Why is it? I mean, we're changing the way our veterinarians analyze horses.
Yeah.
We've changed medications. I don't know why you can't change race dates.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. All right. So comment after comment about Sonny. Everybody loves Sonny. So you've got all kinds of tomato sauce, tomato juice, red sauce. They think would work. Does Sonny still smell? Have we gotten the skunk smell out of it?
Sonny's still got a tinge of skunk going on there. And when he gets wet, it's worse. And I have bathed him, I think, at least 7 or 8 times over the last couple of weeks. But he'll get there, I suppose. He's home alone right now.
Well,
He's enduring himself.
Yep, understood.
Yeah. I wonder if he would learn from that experience. that when we leave the farm again, don't go after the skunk, Sonny.
Yeah, let's hope
Please.
so.
Yeah, my car got clean, though. That worked.
Talk to me about Mystik Dan. Obviously, probably disappointing finish there as well.
Nothing disappointing about it at all. He might be the fastest speed figure he's running in his career.
Really?
Yeah.
You did mention the horse that beat him as the one that you mentioned might be able to.
Yeah. Saudi Crown's a good horse. That race is we're real optimistic coming out of that race. And I think right now, the natural next step might be the Stephen Foster at Churchill, which ironically would be the same day that Thorpedo Anna runs. So that's June 28th at Churchill. It should be a great day. I'm going to probably train the two of them together going into it.
Now you did that when they were younger.
I did. They trained together a lot, and I think that would be a great, to be able to bring them back over a year later to win on the same day after doing it a year earlier. I'd be really proud of that if I can pull that off. Hard to say who's going to show up in the Stephen Foster or the Fleur de Lis, but both horses went beautiful this morning, and Mystik's back here at Churchill, and he seems stronger than ever.
Good. You had a few others run that past weekend. Hypnus, I think Maximum Promise won. Talk to us a little bit about some of those other horses.
Well, Maximum Promise didn't run well at all. He ran okay, but his first turf run and wasn't ideal.
Now that was the one. Hey, if he wins that one, the English Derby was on the card.
He just need to run 4th and then finish up good. But we'll get more conservative with him. You've got to reach, and Greg Back likes reaching, and the La Rose is also on him. But let's talk about Hypnus. Hypnus is a funny horse. Okay, we were really high on this horse at one point. When we got him into the paddock for a couple of races this past winter, Derby preps, he wants to get really studdish around other horses. He loses complete focus. He's very, very much a playboy.
Interesting.
So in the paddock last Saturday, of course it was early on the card and it was muddy. He started being foolish, and then there was a bucket of ice water next to me.
Okay.
And I started taking handfuls of ice water and tossing it on his business because that's all he was thinking about.
Gotcha.
Well, we got him. Let's just say that went away after about 4 handfuls of ice water.
Okay.
And he went out there and ran good. He ran really good.
Yeah.
I actually was real pleased with this race. That horse has got a lot of potential, a lot of talent. He just got to get focused. He's just right now he's a boy, and we got to get him into racing, thinking about racing.
Have you seen this before? Is this normal?
Well, that's the first time I'd ever used, doused ice water on a horse's,
Right.
you know what,
Gotcha.
and it works so well that we'll have a bucket on hand next time he runs. So
Okay.
I don't think for pre-race, I don't think we have to call that one in, like change of blinkers or anything like that. We're going to have the ice water there in the paddock.
Uh-huh.
That one was a little bit comical, and my staff got a kick out of me tossing ice up in
I
there.
bet.
Yeah. He didn't think it was very funny, but he ran good.
Well, that's what matters.
Yeah.
How was your Derby weekend experience?
Exhausting. I was so tired Saturday night. Didn't drink through the whole thing. Had a couple of bourbons Saturday night. That was fine, but I was completely zonked all day Sunday, part of Monday, and that's typical every year. You just got kind of recovery mode, and,
Right.
And then this week, one step in front of the other. Actually, Annie's fighting a little stomach bug, and I think I might have had a little of it, but I feel good today.
So, what does your days look like on a Derby day? I mean, do you hang out backside? Do you go up and do the Millionaire's Row thing? Where do you normally kind of spend your time?
Well, no, I don't do the Millionaire's Row thing at all. I walked over with my Saturday horse. I walked over for the first race and walked back. Then I went home and changed, came back, rode over for Maximum Promises race, and then I just waited in the box for the Derby.
Got it.
Sometimes I've done the walkover. The Toby Keith's family did the walkover.
Oh, nice.
I actually encouraged them not to, but they did it, and because I thought it was going to be really quagmire out there.
Yeah.
They did that, but it wasn't overly complicated. I was up early for training,
Okay.
but we were done training by 8:00.
Okay.
And then on Friday, it was a similar type day. We had between Anna, Take Charge Milady, and then Gal's Delight ran. But they were kind of packaged later in the day. But the same thing. We were done early. Training was done by 8:30 on Friday. So there's some windows of time there. And we had some family over Friday, too, for like a light brunch about 11:00.
Got it.
Yeah, but it's still did a lot of interviews and had to be here and there and everywhere. Did one with the governor, did a podcast for the governor.
Nice.
He's a friend.
Oh, that's right. He has his own podcast.
Yeah. He had me as a guest on there, and I've supported him for years. And beyond that, I mean, it was pretty steady as it goes.
So it was really cool. So during the actual broadcast, they came up to you, and then I think you kind of came back with, "Hey, we're going to follow." I forget the horse's name out, but we're going to follow a certain horse and try to.
Well, we felt like East Avenue was speed inside of us, and you really want to try to find what I'd call a blocking back, especially with my Colts running style.
There you go. You full back.
Yeah, and so we wanted to somewhat follow him, but my colt wasn't fast enough. And he's a big, heavy-footed horse. I mean, he has one of the largest hooves that you'll see.
Interesting.
And he just floundered around out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Most horses that run good in the mud have what they call, in America we call them club-footed. In Europe they'll call them box-footed horses. But they're compact and they're tight and they get right down in it.
Sure.
And they roll. Horses that are big and heavy, flat-footed horses are practically useless in the mud, especially Churchill. And they just kind of, they can't get through it. He needs a dry track. And it wasn't his circumstance, wasn't his day, and certainly not the talent level that you needed.
Anything different after the Netflix?
I took more selfies and
I bet, right?
And more things. I mean, I couldn't walk through the crowd at Churchill without people wanting a selfie. That was
so different. I would assume
interesting.
Yeah.
But you try to take care of as many people as you can and enjoy it. It's unique.
Pretty cool. Well, Kenny's got an appointment he's got to get to. Anything else before we get out of here today?
I don't think so. I think my stable as a whole, I think we're going to be in a little bit of a lull in the sense that we sold some older horses at the older horse and training sale. We've had a lot claimed off of us, which is it's that time of year. And then we've got an inordinate amount of young horses that are coming forward that aren't quite ready yet. And we've got a long list of 3-year-old maiden colts and fillies that aren't ready to run yet. And then some of our stakes horses we're going to probably take a little bit of a slow boat with. You're not going to see Mystik Dan or Thorpedo Anna until late June. The Saratoga meet is a little ways away. I don't know if we're going to have much to participate up there either. But it seems like racing is this peaks and valleys.
Yep.
And we've had a really good first half for the most part. I do see a valley coming. Not that the horses will be running bad, but they're just not going to be that many and quite so many ready. And but when they come ready, they're going to rock.
Awesome.
I got some real talent laying there. That's just
awesome.
Horses. People always like, give me one, give me that. I've got a filly named Dancing Drums that you better watch out for. This is a very good
Dancing
filly.
Drums.
Yeah, I've got another one named Delicious Diva. I think it's going to be a very good filly. We've got a horse named Liberty National, a 2-year-old that's showing a lot of promise. Sleeping on Freedom. I've got. Actually, I could give you probably 15 or 20.
Right.
That I'm excited to get to the races, and it's just such a process that they're just not quite ready. The easiest thing for y'all to do is to take the app, make sure I'm in as your favorite trainer, and then pay attention to when we've got one going. Got a few runners this week. One later tonight.
Mm-hmm.
That horse should win. Soul Loot, and then a few others over the weekend.
All right, man. Well, thank you. As always, I'm sure this past weekend was a good one, and I was looking forward when we started our podcast. I was really looking forward to that Oaks Derby weekend, and you certainly didn't disappoint on the handicapping side of things.
Maybe we'll handicap the Preakness and the Belmont when we get closer.
People better pay attention if we do. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, some good card. They're going to card a lot of good races up there in Baltimore, and like I said, I'm not sure we're going to take anything right now. I'm not planning on it, but that doesn't mean we can't handicap it.
Amen. Well, we want to thank Phasic Tipton for being our official sponsor for this episode as well. So, again, they came on board. Awesome outfit. If you're going to go to one of those horse sales, you mentioned last time, you kind of have to have somebody that knows how to handle it, though.
Well, we're going to work the Phasic sale in July.
Okay.
We will be hard and heavy on that sale. Second week in July.
Okay.
It's one of my favorite sales. Take Charge Lady came out of there. I bought a lot of really good horses out of the July sale. And that'll be the first yearling sale of the season. And right now they're doing some digital sales. We're actually going to sell a filly named Genuine Article in the digital sale here in about 4 or 5 days. And there are more of those things going on now too, the digital sale.
Sure.
But great company, and I really appreciate their help.
Absolutely. All right, everybody, thank you for listening, and we will be back next week with another Horse Races Now podcast.
See you at the races.
The only major U.S. 2-year-old sale held over a dirt surface, Mid-Atlantic May, continues to produce graded stakes winners across the globe and on all surfaces. Recent grads include Eclipse champion Straight No Chaser, brilliant winner of the Breeders' Cup Sprint, as well as this year's Riyadh Dirt Sprint at the Saudi Cup, plus Grade 1 winners Full Count Felicia and Sacred Wish. The Phasic Tipton Mid-Atlantic May 2-year-olds in training sale, May 19th and 20th in Timonium, Maryland. Where will you be?